All right, welcome back. So what we're working on is Allie.Chat. We're implementing a new Nuget package today called Allie.Chat.Commands. And what this will do is it will look at the web API. It'll use the web API and the packages that are available for Allie.Chat. It'll grab information about your streams and your commands, and then you'll choose whether you want to connect with TCP or WebSocket. It'll have both in there. I might separate it into different packages to keep it as light as possible. And then the token that you'll get for that, you get off of the website, or I'm thinking I could specify it as a type of bot. If you have any questions when I'm working on, please don't hesitate to put them into the chat. Let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing I want to do is make a new class library project for this. And we're just going to put this here on my desktop called Allie.Chat.Commands. And I want this one to be my main module for this. So I'm going to say this is Allie.Chat.Commands. And I don't know if I want a core module, so let's just start with one. Starbucks. Yeah, we don't have no Tim Hortons, though, here. Okay. Let's go ahead and add in a new project. And I'm going to add in another one, another class library for .NET Core. And I'm going to call this one Allie.Chat.Commands. And this will be my top level. And then we also want to have another one in here called let me think, actually, do you want to have these things? Because then you can have one for TCP or WebSocket or both. So we could say Allie.Chat.Commands.TCP. And we can just dump that right into here. And then we can add another one in here called Allie.Chat.Commands.WebSocket. And then let's just go ahead and start adding some packages onto this, okay? So on our TCP socket, what we need to do is add a Nuget package here. And the first one we're going to get is called Allie.Chat.TCP. Okay, let's go ahead and add this. And then we also need to have a WebSocket set up, or a TCP connection set up for this. So we'll download the, pardon me, we also need to have a connection to our web API. So we're going to download this web API layer, and we're not going to include OAuth at the moment. Okay. So now inside of this app, let's change all of these apps to be on 2.1 to match my packages on Nuget, just so that everything's consistent, because I'm going to migrate these together. And we'll build everything. Now, I feel like I should put the web API here on core, so let's do that. I'm going to remove it from here, and I'm going to move it to this one. This one here. Okay, and then on here we want to have a reference from my TCP project to my core project. Okay, so if I look at this package, is there an object explorer or something? If I look at this object, I should have something like an Allie.Chat.WebAPI. I'm in the wrong one. This one here. And here I have my interface for API client AC. and we're going to call that my client, and we're going to make that a new one of these things. We'll make it static for this class. Now, I don't want to be in a console app. This is wrong, right? This is not supposed to be a console app. This is supposed to be a class library. So let's kill this. Add in a new project. And this is a class library called this one. Like that. And then we're going to add in my reference to my commands core. Let's delete this thing now too and create the right type of project. Oops, that's okay. Pardon me. Okay. And we want to add that Nuget package here for Allie.Chat.Web API. And then in here, we're going to say that this is commands TCP. Or we'll call this, yeah, we'll just start with this, and then we'll refine this as we go. Let's go ahead and add a new reference from TCP to core. And I want this to be disposable. Okay. So in here, I want to have my new type called Allie.Chat.Web API dot this thing, and this is my client. So I can just do this, and then this, and then we can say that this is a protected read-only version of it. Like that. And then let's go ahead and make our constructor for this thing. So client equals a new web API client, unless you want to override this. I'll let you be able to do that. And here you can pass in your access token. So one of the things that I want to have in here is a new class called parameters. And in here, Clunch, how are you doing, man? It's good to see you. It's been some time. And then this one we'll do as a access token. And this can be a public struct. And we're going to extend this as an interface. And then put our parameters here. Okay, then what I want to do is I want to say if my client does not equal to null, when we dispose, we want to dispose it. Okay, so now that we've done this, we're saying that we want you to pass in an access token here. That sounds pretty reasonable to me, but we're going to need you to pass more than that, because this is for your commands TCP module. So let me move this to core, and I'm going to say that this is my base commands. And we can do this as an abstract. and we can bring in my parameters. Okay, so now on commands TCP, what I want to do is remove this stuff and just have my constructor as a commands base, or was it called base commands? And we want this just to do my base parameters. Okay. And so now in here, we need to have our TCP client, right? So I should have that package called Allie.Chat.TCP. Doesn't look like I have it, so let's add my Nuget package in here for Allie.Chat.TCP. Yeah, it is. I'm doing great. I had a fantastic year. That's awesome, man. As I finally started to be a real software engineer, I remember with my first year of full-time C# engineer, I finally understand what you type. Have you been? Has life been good? Yeah. Life has been really good. Life is really good on this side. We can talk more about it offline, but yeah, things are very good all around. Very happy. But I'm glad to hear that your year was great. So this time we're going to make this iTCP client AC. Now, one thing I didn't like that I saw, and we're not going to make the change right now, is that when I was looking at my Allie.Chat public, underneath TCP, I should have a new folder in here called events, and then a new class in here called event handlers, so that I can move these into event handlers. Okay, and then we can just add our namespace. Now we probably want to do that same thing here. Like that, and then we'll just copy in these two handlers. Okay. Okay, so now that that's done, we can just close this up and we can come back to it in a minute. Okay, but on here now we're going to have my new client, and when I looked at base commands, this was called Web API Client. And this is going to be called a TCP client. So let's go ahead and remove this. And we're going to make it another protected read-only iTCP client called TCP client. And in this one, we want another access token. And this is going to be your bot access token. So in here, I want this to be a bot access token, and this to be a web API token. Okay, and there's a reason I'm doing it like this. And what I want to have in here now is my events, which is going to be a connection event. It's going to be a connection event, a message event, and now you have a few message types in here, right? So we can just do it for a basic message event on message event. And then we also have a error event. Now, since we're subscribing, we need to unsubscribe. So we'll do this like this. Okay. And one thing about this is that it should be inheriting my TCP client. It's coming from TCP client AC. Interesting. Interesting. Okay, so I think it does have to be completely separate, and I can't use that base class. So on here, now, on my connection event, this is a connection TCP event, right? So we're just going to right now do a return task.completed task. And one of the things that I need to have on here is a poll, right? Which is going to go out and retrieve your streams and then also the associated commands for them. So to do that, let's go ahead and make a new folder in here. And we're going to call this services. And I'm going to make a new service in here called a base polling service. Okay, and this is going to have a function called update, which is going to pass in a integer for my update interval in milliseconds. And then I want to have an index called timer index, polling index. And we're going to say a protected, no, just like that. And we're going to say if my polling index so like that, if my polling index is greater than my or equal to my, and now what I want to have is a protected, and we're going to have a new class in here called polling service parameters. And this will be a public interface. And in this, I want to ask for a polling interval in milliseconds. Okay. So this is a constructor now, which is going to have a polling service parameters called parameters. like that. And then your polling interval here is going to be that. Then you're going to do a polling index is equal to 0. And you're going to start a try catch where you're going to do some different stuff. And then you're going to set your polling. You also want to have a protected bool called is running. Is poll running. And here we're going to say if your poll is not running, then you want to do all of this stuff. And here you want to say poll running equals true. And below we want to do a false. Okay. So now what we also need to have is a virtual asynchronous task here called update events asynchronous. And then we want to have a public virtual asynchronous just a void called update events synchronous. And we want this to be abstract. And the same thing here. And this needs to be in an abstract class. So the first thing it's going to do is it's going to do my update events. And you want to do this as a task.run, as an asynchronous task. And then we're going to update my await my update asynchronous like that, and with another catch. And that's it. That's your base polling service. So let's go ahead and remove this. And we're going to extract the interface from it. Okay. And in this polling service, we want to have another one. And this is going to be a... Now, do we want to store the commands in the cache? Probably. So let's go ahead and make a new polling service in here for streams polling. We'll say stream commands service. Streams commands. And now I'm going to make a new class in here called stream commands service. Okay? And in this one, we're going to go ahead and extend it here as a base polling service. which I'm going to say is an I-based polling service, and it's marked as disposable. And this needs to have in it the I polling service parameters, which is a polling service parameters, like that. Okay. Now, base commands is marked as abstract at the moment. So we're going to change that to be a base commands. Okay, that's fine for me. And in this, we want to have my public override, and we have update events asynchronous. Okay. So in here, I want to do my web API client, and I should have something which is a your web API token is going to expire at periodic times. For base commands, you don't want that thing to break, so we'll worry about that in a second. So you have a get streams asynchronous here. And then what I want to do is a get command sets, get stream command sets for each stream ID. And then what I want to do is I want to say for each var command set in command sets, I want to get my commands, which is called get commands of a command set.id. Now this is the information that I need to hold on to. Hold on. Now, I think I need to make a model for this to hold this information. So let me do that down here. I'm going to make a new public class called cached commands. And in this, we want to have a number of these streams just a second. And you want these streams here to be, because you don't want this to get your view models of the streams, for example. But you do want to have this stream DTO. So we're going to have another class in here called public stream extended or something. Hold on one second. Cached stream DTO. And we want to inherit from stream DTO. And in this one, we want to have a public class cached command sets DTO, which is a command set DTO. And then inside of that, we want to have a cached commands DTO, cached command DTO, which is a command DTO. So this stream is going to be extending this, and it's going to have in it these cached DTOs called command sets, which is going to have some of these, which is a command DTO. Hold on. It needs to have this, which has a number of command reply DTO. This is command DTO called commands. Okay. So on this, I'm going to have a protected concurrent read-only concurrent dictionary. And we're going to call this cached data. And that's going to be a GUID and a cached commands. Cached stream DTO. And you don't need this. Okay. And what I want to do here is I want to make a new cached stream DTO. And instead of doing it this way, I'm going to have one of these equals a new cached stream DTO. And that's going to have a stream, which is this stream. And now here you want to say command set cached command sets equals a new list of cached command set DTO. Now here you're going to do a cached command sets.add, a new one, which is going to be a command set DTO. Like that, which is going to have this command set in it. Now that's a stream command set. So this is a stream command set. That's different. And now this is a stream command set. However, you're passing in a bot token here that this represents. You can only have one per bot. So if you're passing in a bot token, then I know that here. And I want to say where my well, now what I want to do is I want to get the routes in the stream, right? So get routes in my stream. And then for each one of my routes, I want to switch on my route type I want to get my inbound, not my outbound, and I want to say second. Now I want to check if the route belongs to the bot. So I want to get my route equals await my web API client dot read route, get route asynchronous of my route dot ID. So this is called a route view model, because that should include a bot. Okay. So that means that up here, you want to get a protected read-only. And what we're going to do is when we start this, we're going to do a if my bot is equal to null, then I want to first get my bot. So we're going to do await my web API client dot read, dot get. What was the one that's read? Oh, you don't have any. Get bot TCP Now, I thought you had a separate endpoint for this. So I need to look at something here in Allie.Chat. Because I swear I had a endpoint for getting the token here. So if I look at my web app, on my controllers for bots, this is reading your individual bots, but everything is by GUID. So if this is the case, then when I'm authing in a client under my TCP service, user service TCP, which in your implementation is getting it right from the database. So what that means then is on our bots controller, I look at this thing real quick. Well, I'm not getting too much information, am I? No. So if I look at my bots real quick, when I'm doing my get TCP bot, we want to do this as a string. And now here I want to say if my, and this one is going to be ID, the ID of the desired, the ID or OAuth token of the desired TCP bot registered to the application user. Okay, so if my GUID.try_parse out my ID, my out var GUID, then you can do this stuff. Otherwise, and this is going to be a bot TCP VM called bot. And then when I look here, we can add this as a string for my OAuth token. And as a string for my OAuth token. Like that. Okay. And then we're going to do the same thing here for my get WebSocket bot. So the ID or OAuth token of the desired bot. We'll call this an access. Nah, we'll leave it the same. And then this is now going to be a string. And this should be required. And then this is a bot WebSocket VM called bot. So if we do a GUID.try_parse here of my ID out var GUID, then we can do it this way. Otherwise, we need to do it this way. Like that. Okay. So that should be good there. You're going to need to fix your service now. So that'll be in here. This will tell me it can't find the readbot WebSocket. So this is a string OAuth token. Like that. Except you want to say if your entity does not equal to null, then you want to return a var VM equals mapper.map to my bot WebSocket VM entity. And then my OAuth token equals string.empty, and you can return your VM. Otherwise, you can return your null. And the other one is up here, which is a read bot TCP asynchronous, like that, which is a token. And then we can just bring this up like that. Okay. Now that that's done, we can rebuild it. Okay, and now that that's done, we're not going to deploy this at the moment, but what I'm going to do next is open up my public one, and in my web API, I need to change my get bot TCP. We're going to add another one in here. And this is going to be called token. And this will be a string called token. It's just going to pass it in there. And then you need to do the same thing here as a string called token. Like that, and then here. Okay. So that's done. We need to rebuild or redeploy, but we'll do that in a little bit. So back over here now, I can now say that we're going to have a get bot asynchronous, TCP asynchronous. Well, it depends on your type. So this needs to be a T, where my T is a type of bot VM. So can I do a switch on my bot.user.provider type? So this is a get bot TCP, which is going to be a GUID.parse just temporarily for my parameters of a I don't see parameters being saved. And this is going to be your web API token. No, your bot access token. Okay, you also want to have in here a public virtual void update web API token, which will be a token. And then this is going to be a parameters is equal to a new I'm going to go ahead and change this thing out to be a string for my access token or my, no. You want to do this as a string to your web API token and then an I parameters called parameters, because your web API token can change. So you want to have a protect private string called your web API token. Okay, and this will be a web API token equals token. Hey there, 3Vol. How are you doing? Welcome to the channel. If you have any questions, make sure to pop in the chat. Making a commands module for Allie.Chat, which is up and running and live, and all the Nuget packages are up as well. So like that. So this one, what you want to do here is you want to have a function which is called protected abstract task called get bot, and you want to return here a type of T like that. So if your bot is equal to null, then you want to do a bot is equal to await get bot, which we're going to say is asynchronous. This needs to be called polling parameters. Okay. Now that you have your bot, when you get your streams, You only want to get the ones where your routes you have the bot cut out here. So like this. So if my route vm.bot.id is equal to my bot.id, then we're going to say this command, this route is registered to the bot. And now what I want to do is I want to say I want to get my paths equals await web API client dot get paths asynchronous of my route.id. And so now if there are paths.any, so like any inbound paths, then we can do a verify we have at least one path registered. So if there is that, then here you want to create your cached data. Okay, so let's take a look at this. But you only want to do this if you don't have that stream in there. So up here we want to have a var cached streams equals a new dictionary of a GUID and a cached stream DTO. And then here you want to have a protected cached stream DTO called create cached stream. Where your cached streams doesn't contain the key of the s.id. So we'll get rid of this, and I'm going to say that this is going to be a if my cached streams doesn't contain the key of the stream.id, then we're going to continue forward. You're going to get the routes. You're going to check to make sure you have an incoming one, and then you're going to create your cache data. So you're going to say that this is going to include a stream DTO, and you're going to say a var stream DTO equals create cache stream of your stream. And then you're going to do a cache streams dot triad of a stream.id and your stream DTO. And we're going to change that to be a cached stream. Okay. And then when all that's said and done, you're going to go up here and do your cache stream data is equal to a new one of these of your cache streams. Okay. So now when we're creating our cache stream, what I want to do is I want to say cached stream DTO equals new cache stream DTO, which is going to be a stream equals stream. And then what I want to do is my command sets equals await my client dot get command sets. Pardon me. Why doesn't that have a variable? When I look at my web API, command sets is registered to anybody, so you want to get your get stream command sets from your stream.id. And this needs to be a virtual asynchronous task of this thing. Cached command sets equals a new list of cached command set. And then what you want to do is you want to do for each var command set and command sets, we want to create a new var cached command set equals a new cached command set where we're going to pass in my command set and then your commands, which we still need to get here. Var commands equals await web API client dot get commands of a command set dot ID. So this is a stream command sets. This is a command stream command set. So now what you need to do is you need to get your command set equals your await my client dot read command set get command set, and we want to pass in here the stream command set dot command set ID. So if my command set does not equal to null, then we're going to create this new cached one where this is your new command set DTO, which is a commands count equals command set dot commands dot count. A description is your command set dot description. ID is command set dot ID. Name equals command set dot name. Prefix equals command set dot prefix. And we're not going to worry about stream command sets. Oh, stream command sets is a and that's going to be your stream command sets dot count. And then instead of doing this, you can just do a command set dot commands. Dot to array. And in this, we want to say that this is a cached command sets dot add this. And then here you want to say cached stream DTO dot command sets is equal to cached command sets dot to array. And then finally you want to return your cached DTO. Okay, I think that that's it. So in your base command system, you have it as a generic. You have your web API and your parameters, which are literally only your access token at this moment, as well as your polling interval, which is for your cached commands polling parameters. Okay. Okay. Where's my update events? Oh, because it's still abstract. So you want to have a public override update events, which doesn't do anything. Okay, that looks pretty good. I'm going to change this parameters out here to be a string bot access token. And then we'll leave this polling parameters here. That's fine. And we want to make a new class here called a polling service parameters. Actually, no, we can get rid of this too and just have this as a polling interval millisecond. Keep it light. Okay, you need to add in a dispose on this one. Do you? Public virtual void dispose. And then this is going to be a integer for polling interval in milliseconds. Just keep it simple, okay? This has now an override with a base.dispose. Let's go ahead and change this to be a protected like that. Okay. And then let's go ahead and make one more folder in here for my models. And we want to have one called a cached stream DTO, and then a cached command set DTO. Okay. And this one is called a cached command set DTO. Okay. And parameters here, I think we can scrap that. So that's it for our beginning one. Okay. Now let's make our specific types. We don't currently need the bot access token yet. So now let's go over to our TCP module. Now in your commands here, you want this to be of a type base commands, and it requires a bot TCP VM. And this wants a web API token, bot access token, string web API token, and integer polling interval in milliseconds. Okay. Does this thing have a connect? It does. So on your message event now, you want to check this against your type. So what I mean by that is you want to make a switch on your args. So if this is a iMessage, well, that doesn't matter, right? What you want to do is you want to get your var stream equals your cache data dot if your cache data dot try get value of your args dot stream dot id out var cached stream. Now what you want to do is you want to check to see if it is a command. So one other thing we want in here is I want to have another one. This is going to be my stream cache polling interval in milliseconds. And we want to have one more for my doesn't that already have one? If I look at my TCP client AC, I don't see a timer on it. So on here we want to have a protected, no, we can just have a int reconnect polling interval in milliseconds. And here we want to have a, hello? Here we want to have a private integer for my reconnect polling interval milliseconds as a protected, and then a protected integer of my reconnect polling interval index. And then here you want to do a timer. Oh, no. And then down here you want to have a protected override update events asynchronous. And you want to say protected bool is and actually you can do it a different way. You can do a protected override update events. And this one you can say is your index now if we go back, you want to have in here a int polling, and we're going to say polling polling interval in milliseconds. Just a second. Update interval. Update interval in milliseconds. Like that. Okay. Okay. And so now you're going to say your polling index is plus equals to your update interval milliseconds. And if your polling index is greater than or equals to your polling, and this is a reconnect polling index, like that, then what you're going to do is you're going to say your index is equal to 0. Now, if your client does not equal to null and your TCP client dot is running, then you want to do a TCP client dot connect. Like that. So that's your update interval. You don't care about connection or error events. Here you want to have a protected bool called is running, because here when you do a switch on your args dot connection event type, well, because otherwise this thing's going to just sit there and ping me because the bot token was not valid. So there's also a interesting. We'll just forget about this for now. Okay. And so now the next thing that you need to do is we need to have this abstract method down here for get bot asynchronous. I already had that written here. Return await of my client of my bot access token. And just for now, we want to have this like that. And when we do this, where are you checking to make sure that you're populating bot? You want to say if your bot is equal to null, then you want to do a bot equals await get bot asynchronous. If your bot is still equal to null, then you want to return. Which means that over here, you're only going to run this if your bot does not equal to null. Okay? And so now the next thing is that we need to actually fire the events for it. So what I want to do is look at my already written module to save some time. And if I look at my BLL for where I'm calculating commands, is I want to say if my args.message.trim.toLower dot starts with my, and we're going to iterate through for each var item in cached stream dot command sets. So this is a cached command set. So if this starts with my cached command set dot prefix, so that's command set dot prefix, then I want to get my command substring equals a message dot, I'm sorry, this is called args.message.substring of your stream of your cached command set prefix.length. For each var command in command sets, and now what I want to do is I want to say if my command.commandText.trim.toLower dot starts with my command substring dot trim dot toLower, this is a valid command, fire the event. And then all we need to do is have a command event handler. So for that, we're going to make a new class over here called a events, and then a new class called event handlers. And this will be a public delegate task called command Allie.Chat.Command event. And I want to pass in a type of args here. And call this an Allie.Chat command event args. And we also want to have one of these typed. So this one, my command event args, needs to inherit from base args. Or base event args. Event args. So we can add a new class in here called base event args, and we want to add on here a public abstract class which inherits from event args, and it just has a GUID on it for an ID, and then also a date time for my timestamp. And so this is a base event args, and you want to have in here an iMessage base called a message. And then you want to have a command set DTO called the command set, and then a command DTO for my command. And then this one, it's going to be typed where my T is a type of message base. And then here you're going to have a new iMessage called message. And this is going to be an object sender, and then a T args, where your T is a type of base event args. We're almost done with this. So now, one thing I want to look at is when I'm firing that command, I want to make sure that I'm getting the right type and sending the right type across the pipeline. So in my routing, and then when I'm sending this across the pipe and I'm receiving it, in my TCP layer, I'm only invoking this for message base. Now that's wrong. I want to invoke this for either. So in here, we're going to change this to be a iMessage called message. So this is going to be called message typed, like that, and then message typed. Okay, same thing here. Message typed as iMessage Discord. And then this one, same thing. And then this last one here. And then here we're going to say, if my message typed does not equal to null, then we're going to fire it like that. And that should be the right type. We need to do the same thing in WebSocket. So over here, we're going to say just called message typed, and it's a iMessage base called message typed. And this is another one of the message typed. And this one is a message typed as iMessage Discord. Message typed. And then this one here is message typed. And now we want to say that if my message typed does not equal to null, then we want to fire it here. Okay, now that that's done, back over here, now we know that we have the correct type of message coming through. So I don't necessarily need to have an event for everything. I can do it all hitting one here. So what I mean is I'm going to make a new public, and we called it an Allie.Chat public event, Allie.Chat message event handler, wasn't it? And this one is going to be called a command received event. And then we're going to have a few more. We're going to have one here called typed, which is going to have an iMessage Twitch command Twitch received event. interesting. You have it as the same class, but with a type. Didn't know I could do that. In that case, and this will be a iMessage Discord, iMessage TCP, and iMessage WebSocket. Okay, now I think that's ugly, and I don't think that's going to look good. So we're going to do this as an abstract. This one can be like that. This one should be an abstract. And we're going to make one more in here called Allie.Chat.Command. Let's just make this easier. We're going to call this a command event args. And then we're going to make one called command Twitch event args. Which is a command event args of type iMessage Twitch. One for Discord. And then another one for WebSocket, and then one for TCP. Okay. So that means that back over here, now I can make this a command Twitch event args. It's much easier. Command Discord events args. Command TCP event args, and then also command WebSocket event args. We're going to move all of these onto my base. And then we want these to be private. And then like this. And now what we want to do is we want to have a protected virtual void fire command received event. It's going to be an object sender and a command event args. This is a fire command, and then we're going to do a command received event. And we'll invoke that with my sender and my args. Now we need to repeat those for the other ones. Fire command Twitch received, Discord received, TCP received, WebSocket received. And then we're going to say that this is a command Twitch received, command Discord received, command TCP received, and command WebSocket received. Okay, the last thing we need to do is have my public event, and this was called a Allie.Chat command event of my command event args called command received event. And we're just going to call this a command event. And we're going to change this to be a command event handler. Command Twitch event, command Discord event, command TCP event, command WebSocket event. And then we're going to do an add, and it's a command event plus or minus my value, and then a remove for my command event plus minus equals to my value. And now we need to rinse and repeat that. 1, 2, 3, 4. With this one, command Twitch event, command Discord event, command TCP event, and finally command WebSocket event. That's it. So now, interesting. I think we can move this onMessage event to the base. What are you talking about? I see it used right there. Okay. And so now what you want to do is you want to do a switch on my args type, and we can change that to be called message. And if it's a iMessage Twitch, then we do something. If it's an iMessage Discord, then we do something. If it's an iMessage TCP, then we do something. And if it's an iMessage WebSocket, we do something. And then finally, we're going to do a fire command received event on my sender and my message. So this is a fire command Twitch received. Fire command Twitch received event of my sender and my C. This is my fire command Discord event. Now, it's not quite as easy as that because you need to do a new one of these things, and then your command is command. Your command set is your command set. It's your cached command set.command set. Your message is your C. So this one is the Discord event. This one's for TCP. And this one's for WebSocket. And this one's going to be a command set, cached command set dot command set, and your message is your message. Okay. That looks good. And so now on your TCP command set, you should have a public override here for my dispose. You want to say if the TCP client does not equal to null, then you want to do this and do a TCP client.dispose. Okay. Let me take another peek here. And we look good to go. So on your commands TCP, this one's not using auth. And if I was going to remove one of my interfaces here, can't I make this a little more straightforward by just scrapping this and then making this a bot VM? Like that. like that. Okay, I think we're good. Let's rebuild it. Now on your base commands, let's go ahead and extract my interface on that. Like that. Now, you don't have that thing on the auto reconnect, or did you add that? We added that. So here, in your commands TCP, you want to say if it is running and is running equals false. Okay. So if we extract this interface, we want this to be of an I-base commands. So let's change this to be called a base commands service. And this is an I command service. Looks good. So now what we can do is we need to have that same projects. This needs to be 2.1. This needs to be 2.1. That's good. Let's go ahead and add in here a new project here for a class library. I'm going to call it this. And we'll bring this one in and change it to be 2.1. Get rid of class 1. Change this to be called commands WebSocket. We're going to add our references here. And now this time, this one needs to have a Nuget package called Allie.Chat.WebSocket. And this will be called the WebSocket client. Okay, this one's got a connect asynchronous, which is a little different. we'll do this as a task.run of my asynchronous. Okay. And now here in my update override asynchronous task of my update events asynchronous, we want to await my update events asynchronous. And this is going to be connect asynchronous. This one's going to be a get bot WebSocket. And that should be it. Now we haven't done the auth yet. So the way auth can work is that we need to have a new project in here, which is a class library. And we're going to call it core.auth. And in this, I want to add Allie.Chat.WebAPI.auth. And we're going to say this is a base commands auth service. And we want to change this to be 2.1. And on this one, we want to add a reference to commands.core. And we want to make the constructor we want this to still be an abstract class. Okay. And now what I want to do is I want to add another new project in here called Allie.Chat.Commands.TCP.auth. And we're going to call it commands TCP auth. Which is a base commands auth service. Except instead of passing in your access token here, you mean your web API token. That's going to get passed in. I look at my base commands here. If your access token is string.is null or empty, is null or white space, like that. Okay. And so for this one, you want to have your dependency on TCP, Allie.Chat.TCP. Okay. So what you want to do this time is that your web API client, we want to pass this thing in. Because on my TCP auth, when I do this, I want to do this for a iWeb API auth client. Which is a Allie.Chat.web.API.auth.client AC auth. And then here you want to have a public iWeb API client AC auth called web. And I guess you could just do it as a protected new read-only iWeb API client AC auth of an API client. And so for this one, we want to do a new web API client AC auth. Which shouldn't have anything for the constructor. So instead of doing this, we're going to do a web API client dot access token. Now we have 3 ways to do this. So let me add in here on my core auth a new folder called enums. And I'm going to call this enums. And we're going to say that this is a public enum client application type. And we have implicit auth code and PKCE. And we'll switch on that. And what I should be able to do now is a web API client dot access token. And we only have RO password. Like that. And now what we're going to need is some parameters on this, right? So if I look at my this, underneath where this is getting set up here, we can actually scrap this and set it equal to this. And then on auth, you want to have a string for the identity server authority URL, which will be equal to a HTTPS colon identity.Allie.Chat. What is it for the authority URL? It's just one more second. One more second. Yeah, so it's this. And so that we want to have a private string here called the identity server authority URL. Okay, so we can get rid of it from all of these. Okay, Just get rid of these unneeded variables now. I think I missed one. Yeah, this one here. So now this should be fine over here with the first one. What we actually want to do is have this thing for the auth to be for multiple client application types. So what I mean by that is we're going to say that this is a, not this. We'll call this a base commands TCP auth. And now what you want to have is a public virtual task called get access token asynchronous. And that should be an abstract. And you'll do a task.run of your asynchronous and a wait on my get access token asynchronous. So when this is done, then we want this to connect. So now we want to have a protected virtual void connect. Okay, and then you want to say that down here, if your TCP client does not equal to null, then you want to do a TCP client dot message dot dispose like that. So you'll just say this is a virtual void disconnect. Okay. And now we can go ahead and we can make the new one, which was a commands TCP auth code auth. And we want to do this for my base commands TCP auth. And we want to have my abstract class on that and my constructor. So we're going to do my web API client dot get my access token from auth code. And here you want to pass in your identity server URL. Your client ID. Your client secret. And your scopes. Okay, and then we're going to do my client ID, my client secret, and my scopes. If my token does not equal to null, then you want to do a token dot okay, if your token dot access token does not equal to string is empty or white space, then you can say your web API client you actually have a function here called update web API token of your token dot access code. And then you want to do a connect. Now the thing about this is when it's connecting, it's because on your update events, right here, this. We want to make a new function here called protected virtual void bool is token valid. Like that. If my token is token valid is not valid, right? Which means that you have a protected virtual void is override is token valid. And let's go back one to this one. Because what you want to have is a protected new let me go here to this one. And what you want to say is protected new login result, which is going to be called a web API token. And this is going to be called login result. Okay, and then you also want to have a protected date time called the date time expire time. You're going to say expire time is equal to the login result dot expires in So this is the expiration in date time. So what if it was date time.utc now minus my login result dot access token expiration? So what you want to say here is if your login result dot access token expiration is less than my date time dot now, then you want to do a await get access token asynchronous. So when I look at the base function, this needs to be a task of bool like that. Like that. Like that. And I think that's it. So we have another one here for PKCE. And this is get access token PKCE, which is your identity, your client ID. There's no secrets. And then the last one you had was RO password. Client ID, client secret, scopes, username and password. And we'll clean up these parameters before I push this thing live. And this is a token response. Actually, you have an update. Interesting. So this should be done with a refresh token here. Okay, and then for RO password, expires in. So here you want to say expire time. Equals date time.utc now plus time span from seconds to my token response dot expires in times 0.8 f. So if my expire time is less than my date time.utc now, then we're going to get it here. Okay. And now that that's done, this can be a protected. Okay. So now that this is done, we only have one more to do, which is that if it is not valid, so you still have one to do for your your WebSocket auth. And then finally you need to add a class library here for Allie.Chat.Commands.auth. And then finally a new project here for Allie.Chat.Commands.WebSocket.auth. And this one we want to make a 2.1. And this one we want to make a 2.1. So for this one, we'll bring these classes in. I'm going to change this to be WebSocket. And this is going to be a WebSocket auth. And you really want to copy from this one And for this, we want to add a reference to my Nuget package for Allie.Chat.WebSocket. Okay, that looks fine. Here's your connect. Asynchronous task is called connect asynchronous. Hey, this is my disconnect. This is connect asynchronous, so it's an await. So for this one, we want to do this as an asynchronous task, like that. This is get bot WebSocket, like that. Okay. And so now for my individuals here, I'll just do this. And this is a WebSocket auth. And this is an await connect asynchronous. And this one is a WebSocket. And this is connect asynchronous. And this one here is a WebSocket. And this is await asynchronous. Okay, let's go ahead and rebuild everything. That was interesting. Web API client AC auth. So we need to add a Nuget package on here called Allie.Chat.WebAPI.auth. And this one is a new web API client AC. And that's it. And so now the last thing is that we want to add the references from my core TCP and WebSocket onto here. I probably don't need core. And on this one, I want to add my references of WebSocket auth and TCP auth. And we'll go ahead and build it. But as for me, hold on one second, actually. But as for me, I'm about out of time for the day. So thank you for staying with me today. If you haven't, make sure you join us at our Discord, discord.pixelhorrorstudios.com. Also, I put all these videos up at youtube.pixelhorrorstudios.com. The only thing remaining is that I think we'll clean up some of the parameters on here, and then we need to write something that manages this in commands auth to let you choose which is the type that you want to work with. And yeah, but with all of these different packages, this is really nice to give you the freedom to use the package that you're interested in working with Allie.Chat. So thanks again for staying with me, guys. If you haven't, make sure to check us out, youtube.pixelhorrorstudios.com and also at discord.pixelhorrorstudios.com. Thanks very much, guys, and I'll see you later. Bye.